Hello guys, welcome to my channel and to a little record painting tutorial. If you don't know, I sell hand-painted vinyl records on Etsy, and today I want to show you how you can make a hand-painted record yourself. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more art and DIY content. Let's start with the materials. First of all, you will need a record. I'm using old scratched records that can't be played anymore, so they don't have to go to waste. Next, you will need some brushes that are suitable for acrylic painting. I would recommend a big flat or filbert brush and a smaller round brush. I'll be using a white acrylic marker for outlines because I find it easier than using a brush, but it definitely works with a smaller round brush too. So no worries if you don't have an acrylic marker. Also optional is gesso. If you don't have gesso, just use white acrylic paint. We will need some more acrylic paints anyway. You will need black and some colors of your choice. I'm going for a rainbow theme here, but you can grab whatever colors you like and have at hand. I also grabbed another brush with stiff bristles that I like to use for making stars. This is optional as well. And also optional but recommended is a sponge for blending. This can be a regular household sponge or so. We will use it for blending the colors. Blending works generally also with a brush, but you will get a different texture with a brush than with a sponge. Let's start painting. First you will need to cover the label of your record with black paint, so your background for painting is all black. Let it dry completely. Next we'll have a look at the outlines of our subject. I drew a loose sketch of a paint bucket and some spilled paint in my sketchbook. As you can see, I tested different variations of the squiggly lines. So you don't have to create a masterpiece, just try to create something similar and then cut it out. Then place the paper on your record and find a nice position where you want the bucket and the colored areas to be. I placed it in a way that it covers up most of the scratches. We will now use this as a stencil to create the sky full of stars. Use a big brush and dab it into white acrylic paint, but make sure that you only have a little bit of paint on your brush. Then use your finger to create some stars. If you have too much paint on your brush, you will just get huge paint splotches. Therefore, I would recommend testing it on a separate piece of paper first. If you now lift off the paper, you can see that we created this negative space in the bottom without stars that shows where to draw or paint an outline. Grab your gesso or white acrylic paint and lay down a base layer of white. And then let it dry. As you can see, after one layer of paint it's still looking pretty streaky and not really white, more grayish. So I would recommend a second layer on top so the background is really white, because if you use very light colors and your paint is not opaque enough, the streakiness will probably show through in the end. When the second layer has dried, it's finally time to add some color. Use a smaller brush to paint the narrow areas. I used this brush for the whole painting, but you could also use a bigger brush in the wider areas. That's a little faster. Let's talk about the painting a little more. Acrylic paint dries fast. Therefore, in order to blend the paint, you will also have to be very fast, because you can't blend anymore once the paint has dried. Concentrate on filling up the areas section by section. As you can see, I started by adding purple and pink as well as a bit of white with my brush, and then blended the paints by dabbing the sponge onto the paints. Then I added the next color and blended it in. And this is how I filled up the whole area. To get some variation between light and dark, I added in some white here and there and blended it with the colors. If your colors don't really blend and you're getting sharp edges, try to use a little less paint and dry your sponge a little and then dab, dab, dab. You really have to dab often. At first I intended to not fill in the bucket, but then I changed my mind and painted it white. I did not use gesso here, I just used 2 layers of acrylic paint since my white paint is pretty opaque. Let's add some finishing touches. If your stars are all the same size, you can add a little variation by dabbing the very tip of a round brush into white paint and then add some little dots here and there. And that's it, your colorful record is completed. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye!